Hi, my YouTube family. This is Melody from Home Garden and Fashion. I thank you so much for being here today. Today, we're going to have a wonderful time together. Hi, this is Melody from Home Garden and Fashion. I hope all of you are doing awesome today. I'm going to do another story. Since I have done a story in Hindi, and I know many of my subscribers they do not understand Hindi, so I am going to do it in English. Now, my Hindi story title is The Wife of a Very Penny Pincher, Stingy Man, but my English subtitle will be The Fate. Actually, it's basically more than a stingy man, was a fate of that lady. So, the character in my story, the lady's name is Sima, and she was from a very lower middle class family. The entire family lived in a very rural village, and family grew their food, and the father was a priest slash a school teacher, and he used to teach school during weekdays from Monday to Saturday. In India, schools are from Monday to Saturday. Saturday usually half day, and Sunday is the only day off. But even Sunday, we haven't seen any days off because we had to do all our homeworks and projects, mm, and there presently is little different. But years ago in India, students really had to study a lot because the weekdays they had a school, and after they came home their life was filled with a lot of activities. After they came back home from school, they had certain household chores in their name, and they had to do those. And then after they finished the chore, then they had to do a little bit prayer, and then they had to do their studies, and then nighttime they ate and went to bed. And if anybody watched any TV, that will be for 30 minutes, just 30 minutes so, or 30 minutes news, something like that. So a real treat was getting to watch the TV for 30 minutes, mostly the news. So and that's how it is a student's life in India. They do not used to be, I don't know, presently a lot of things change and parents have changed. So students mostly study during Sunday too, doing their projects and homeworks, and they have a lot of other extracurricular activity, mainly singing. People do singing and learning music, and some, not too many, will do some playing game, physical game outside, but mostly people do studies. So Shima was a very busy student. She went to school and did very well in her school. Parents kept her well disciplined. Another mother was very nice woman. She took care of the house, and she took care of the garden where she grew literally everything. And then she took care of some neighborhood kids. The parents would drop the kids and pick them up sometime in the evening, and these parents were the one who used to work in the farm all day long. So sometimes they had some elderly grandparents to watch in home, sometimes they didn't. So Shima's mom would watch them for some money, and she was a very nice auntie for all the neighborhood kids. So they were really good, great family. And then as Sima grew up, the father and mother, they were very conservative, and they decided to get her married right after her high school, which she was about, she finished her high school about 16, and then 2 years of we call it a college, but it's mostly 11 and 12th grade. So she finished that 18, about 20-year-old. She finished her bachelor's degree. She was very good in studies. So she finished her bachelor degree in just home science, and so she learned cooking, cleaning, taking care of kids, and sewing and knitting, things like that. Quilt making, things like that, because her parents wanted her to just homely person like her mother, and they didn't know that much technology either. So then they were searching for a boy, and in the village there was a family, and their relative came from the city. So this man used to live in the village, and his sister was married in the city. So his sister's husband's sister, she lived in USA, and her son was there too. So they kind of did the relationship through that, and then the wedding was settled, and the boy is supposed to come and marry Sima. So the boy's name was Raj, and then the boy came and married her. So she got to see the boy only when he came to marry her, and her parents also didn't see the boy. So when he came to marry her, then they found out that the boy was 40 years old and Sima was only 20. So the parents, the boy's parents and uncle, aunt, and they kind of wanted to tell them the man has no age limit, but the woman does, because they stop making babies after a certain age. But this was old belief, but that's what it is. So that's what it was that time. So their parents were a little bit sad for Sima to be getting married to an old man, but there was a story behind it which the boy's parents didn't tell Sima's mom and dad, but the marriage was already done. And what was the story was, when the boy went to abroad, he was engaged and married with another woman for a while, and then he had a divorce. So that's why he's like in his 40s, like 40s, and he's like 40-year-old. But Sima, this was first marriage, and didn't even have any knowledge that he was married previously. But there was no children, just the marriage. And they said, oh, it was marriage for a few years. They just lived together. Then they didn't like each other, so they got a divorce. And then the boy's parents tried to normalize it, saying that, oh, it's pretty normal back in abroad. People just get married and divorce, no big deal. So Sima's parents, being very simple people, they didn't have any choice anyway, because their daughter was already married. So they did have some regrets that they made a mistake of getting their daughter, one and only daughter, married so far away. But they did want Sima to have a good life, and they thought that boy being in abroad, which is kind of like totally misunderstanding. People have this high expectation, and they think the people who came to the abroad and foreign countries must be very rich, which isn't true at all. So they thought that the daughter will have a actually very good life than she does have that moment. But anyway, she got married, and then she came to abroad. And then when she came, then she had a total shock. This was even bigger shock than what she had before. She had before the bigger shock. The boy wasn't a boy at all. He was a 40-year-old man. But when she came to abroad, and then she saw that this boy, he lived in a this man, he lived in a very old broken home, and his house was so broken, and he got it for a few $100 or something, because this was for a foreclosed home which somebody didn't want it. It was in very bad shape. It had rainwater coming from everywhere. So Sima couldn't hurt her parents anymore, as parents were so sad to see the groom was so old, and if they knew that Shima did not really get married to a very wealthy, rich American. She got married to someone really poor, then they will be even more crushed. And there was no benefit of doing this for Sima's side. She wouldn't be benefiting definitely by hurting her parents. So she told them, oh, I'm doing beautiful. The house is here amazing, huge, like palace, and I've been treated like a queen, and I'm having a beautiful life. She just write straight out lie to her parents, just so that they are not hurt. So then, as Raj used to work actually in 7-Eleven all day, and then evening he used to work in a restaurant. So he had two jobs, and in a restaurant he got a lot of free food which the customers would leave and they have leftover food, and he brought them home, and then he would get all those free drinks from restaurants which the customers leave it, and he will save all those drinks in a bottle, and he will drink it at night time, and then he will beat up Sima. So her life was very bad, even though her parents sent her to this far away abroad to have a beautiful life. But fate had played his part and gave her this prison as a life, and she had no choice but to live it, because what else she could have done. So, and she didn't know any English, even though she did her studies, but it was all in Indian language, it wasn't in English. So she went to that restaurant where her husband worked, and she got a job there during daytime washing dishes, and she washed dishes all day, and then she came home all tired. When she came home, she used to also eat in a restaurant, so they didn't have any expense for their food, and the money they used to get, her husband used to save every penny. He was the biggest penny pincher, and he would save every penny, but he didn't have any um, aim or desire or self-esteem or motivation or plans to do anything with that money. He just saved it so he could make a mountain of money one day. And he always used to say to Sima, I'll be very rich in one day. And then if she said, what will you do if you become very rich? Will you buy a big house, car, furniture, things? And then he will hit her. He will say, no, I will save all my money so I will never have to worry about money, and I'll always have money. And as most of Indians, they save a lot and they don't spend for unnecessary things. So it's from childhood they learn saving. But some of them go too wild. Some of them would just save every penny and would not enjoy life, put everything on hold for one day. When they have really enough, they will enjoy. But one day never comes, because they become sick and old, and they just money sit there and they don't do anything with it. So her husband was like that. He would just save all his money, but he wouldn't give her a penny, and if she asked for it, she will just get beaten up. So she lived with that misery, and one day she gave birth to a daughter. And when she gave birth to her daughter, life actually become worse because then she couldn't work. She had to take care of her daughter, and then her husband was still the same penny pincher, wouldn't give her any money. So whatever money she saved, from that money she would take out little for her daughter's food, milk and things like that. And since her husband worked all day, she didn't have any opportunity to go out of the house or work because he worked all day. So she would just keep neighbor's kid, or sometimes she will take the kid and go clean somebody's house and have the kid just sit in a playpen while she worked there. Some people were nice, they gave her some job like that. And she would make little bit of money to buy milk and food for her daughter, and she used to buy fabric and sew clothes for her daughter. But still she would write to her mother that she's doing wonderful, her child is doing great, and she lives in a palace, even though it was just a broken old ghost place. Now in that house itself was broken and old, and there used to live a ghost. A ghost lived there for a long time, and since the house was haunted, that's why there was more fight and unhappiness between them. And when her daughter was born, and when she was a little bit bigger, she had a very much high vision to see all those things. So she used to tell her mother that she's another woman walking around, and she used to tell her mother that at night time she'd see the woman walking with her little light. She would take the light and walk around. Her mother used to come from work so tired that she didn't have the energy to see if there was any woman or anything. Anyway, so one day, at the middle of the night, mother heard some noises, so she went outside and she went to the light, and then she saw a woman standing there and crying and tears rolling from her eyes. So she said, "Why are you crying? Who are you?" So then she told her name is Hannah, and she used to live in that house. And then she got very sick and she had cancer, and she died in there. And but her husband, she had a child, and child died too in that house in sickness. And her husband, after the child died, her husband left the house, went away because he could not bear it. And they used to fight a lot, and one day he just left the house. He went away with another woman, and that's where she killed herself. She committed suicide in that house. So she was crying. So then Sima said to her, Sima's daughter, her name was Nina. So when she said, "Yeah, my daughter Nina said that she saw somebody, it must be you." But you see, she told her, "But you see, I don't have anything. I work all day, and night time I'm tired, very tired. I sleep. And my daughter, I'm just raising her. And my husband, he works all day, but he's such a penny pincher, does not give me any money. And now that my daughter is growing up, I need money, so I do work here and there. So what else do you want? Do you want my life? Then you can have it if you want my life. Then she said, no, I don't want your life. I just don't know where else to go. This is where I used to be. So then Sima said, okay, don't worry. Then next week Sima talked to her manager and she worked more hours. Um, and then after that she got some extra money, and then she called some neighborhood poor people, and then she had a feast cooked for all the poor people, and then she called a priest, and then she gave a proper um, goodbye to that lady, proper cremation and funeral for that lady. And they dug up a big hole in the backyard, and the priest did some prayer ceremony. And then after that, next day Sima didn't see her. Sima didn't see Hannah. And then day after that, and then later they didn't see her. Seems like she has gotten peace due to that funeral service and the ceremonies they did for blessing of her soul. So then, as her daughter grew big and started going to school all day long, and then Sima had more time to work and bring more money, and her manager at the restaurant also realized that Sima is very hardworking and very good, so he started giving her good money, and she started taking care of her daughter. And so the moral of the story is, even though Shima had really a bad life, but she didn't let that take over her or just commit suicide or anything. She just stayed there and did her part as a wife, as a mother, even though things did get very difficult, but she um, had overcome all the obstacle that her fate brought to her. Even though her fate wasn't good, but she still stood there like a big old tree and faced everything with courage. And one day she won the heart of that restaurant manager, and he made her assistant manager and gave her more money, and in fact gave her a nice place to stay which was attached to the restaurant. So there were 2 rooms and a bathroom, and Sima and her husband, they weren't going to sleep in the daytime anyway because they worked in the restaurant all day, and their daughter came home from school, and then she played around outside the restaurant, and then she did her homework and ate food and went to sleep, and her parents would just visit her all the time to make sure she's doing well. And that's how Sima raised her daughter Nina. And before Sima knew, her daughter was big, grown up, and she went away to college. And then Sima became even more free. And the money she made, she put it for her daughter's good education. And she set an example for her daughter that even she was married to that condition, but she still made the best of it, and she worked hard even though she had an old, mean, ugly, stingy husband, but she still did not let that stop her from becoming something special, becoming someone special, and set an example for her daughter. So this is the story. I hope you like the story. I was going to see you with many more. Bye bye. Night. Hi, thank you so much for being here today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment and share this video. Thank you. May God bless you all.